All right, welcome back. So we're going to continue. This time we're going to jump to a different software, Flourish. So let's take a look at that. Remember, we are recording everything. If I go a bit fast, remember you can later play this and play with the data files to make your own versions of this. I'm gonna share my screen. And I'm going to do to a web browser because Flourish is web-based. There's nothing to install in your computer. It's all done on the web. Let's take a look. Flourish is in many ways more simple than Tableau, but it's nicer also in other ways because it has very nice transitions. It has some chart types that you cannot create in Tableau. It's better in general for responsive design, meaning things that adapt automatically to desktop or mobile screens. And it also handles map projections better than Tableau. If you go to the website in Flourish, you can take a look at some of those examples. For example, look at this. The first one is a nice moving chart showing the evolution of urban population in different countries over time. So that looks nice. It's all animated and something that is simple to create. Look at this survey, for example. So it has really nice transitions and animations. Or even this 3D looking nice globe. Let me show you, showing a trade between different countries in the world in different moments in time. There is a slider to animate this. So things that look pretty sophisticated you can create. There is a filter as well. They have what they call scrollytelling. Let me click on this and you will see here is an example of something you can also create with Flourish, which is this type of scrolling pages where you're going to see charts and a narrative where the user is going to just scroll vertically and move through this design. All right, so Flourish is based on templates. That means that for any given chart or map design that you want to create, the first thing you're going to do is to open an existing one, and then you will replace the data. You can create your own free account. When you have an account and you sign in, it looks like that, where you see all the different visualizations you have created. And then you click on New Visualization. New Visualization is where you're going to start any project. And then what you're going to do is to choose an existing template that resembles the type of graphic you want to do, and replace the data that exists there with your own. So you can see, for example, all the different types of bar, line charts, population pyramid, different types of maps, for example, this state map, congressional districts, different areas in the world. These are just some selected templates, not all of them. Different types of scatter plots, 3D maps. So there's a lot of nice types of visualizations, this Sankey diagram, etc. For example, if you remember that 3D globe I was showing you, let me open that template. So it looks like this. So it looks amazing. I can rotate this globe actually. But if you look at the data, it's very simple. And this is what you have to import into Flourish to visualize something like that. So it's very, very simple. It's just exports from China, imports, the year, the source, the destination, and the value for each of those lines. And you can see the kind of thing you can create pretty automatically. Let's create a chart. I'm going to create a new visualization. So let's click on that button, new visualization. I'm going to do now a scatter plot chart. So a scatter plot, remember, is when we try to see if there is a relationship between two data sets, such as, for example, GDP in countries and life expectancy, etc. Let's choose this one. That's a type of a scatter plot, and I will show you what it does. What this is going to do for us is an animated scatter plot where you will see the evolution of something over time. As you can see here, GDP on the horizontal axis, life expectancy on the vertical. Let's see if we can try to recreate something like that. So I open my template, and what I want to do now is to replace the data here with my own. In any visualization in Flourish, you have these large tabs on top, preview and data. Data is what you are importing. Preview is telling you what is looking like as you've made different modifications. So now what I want to do is to take that template. I want to create my own scatter plot. So I'm just going to replace this data with my own. I'm going to go to the black button there, upload data. And now I'm going to find my file. Let's see. The one I want to use is this one. That's a CSV file. It could be an Excel file as well. It could import, it can import both. And you can see import publicly or go private. Import publicly is the only thing you can do if you don't have a pay version. So remember, again, like Tableau Public is going to make your information public. So import. This is very fast. It imported a file that has 3,500 rows of data. And you can see it says, next, select the columns. All right. So now we are looking pretty much at the columns and rows that came from that Excel file. So it looks very much like an Excel file, right? It's just a spreadsheet. And in Flourish, what you're going to do is to select columns to visualize. You see this right side area. So select columns and tell Flourish what to do with them, how to use them, right? So it's pretty straightforward. It's like looking at the Excel file and saying what you want each of the columns to do. So let's imagine now we are visualizing, the template is visualizing these things that we are not interested in. So I'm going to delete all of that. And now I want to create a scatter plot. What is in the horizontal axis? Let's see, for example, one thing I could do is I want to compare, let's imagine from this file that has statistics about a lot of countries, I want to compare income per person in different countries and, for example, life expectancy on the other axis, income per person and life expectancy. So select columns to visualize. My horizontal axis or x-axis, I want that to plot income per person. So that's column I. So I just type I. My vertical axis, I want that to be life expectancy. So that's K. So I'm gonna hit return. And if you look at this small area on the bottom right, that's a mini preview of what is happening. Look, I'm gonna go back and you can see when I type K, you see what happens in that preview. And if you want to see the large preview, you click on this tab on top next to data, and you can toggle between those. And here you can see what is happening live with that graphic you are creating. So far we have created a horizontal axis that is income per person and a vertical axis that is life expectancy. Let's go back to the data. Okay, what else do we see here? Name. What is going to be the name of these data points? So each of those is a country. So what I want that should be A, which is my column A, country name. What happens if I go back to the preview? Yeah, you see that now I can see the name of the countries: Kuwait, income per person, life expectancy. And these are tooltips that the user is going to be able to see as they mouse over. What else? Color. Let's say I want to colorize this by, let's see what we have here in the file, by region, for example, D. So I type D. Now I have that those regions. So basically, you just tell Flourish what to visualize, which columns to visualize, and doing what. Size. The size here could be the population of these countries, for example. Let's say L. See, for example, China is this very large circle. Now look at something. We see hundreds and hundreds of circles. The reason for that is that it's visualizing all these data points for all the countries for many years. So we have 1952 for all the countries, 1956 for all the countries, 1960. So way too much information, right? Too many data points. Something I can do is to play with this time. Time, imagine, let's see what happens. My measure of time here is column E. So if I type E, see what happened now. It created a slider where we're going to see each of the years individually, right? Rather than all the data points on the screen. At the same time, we are going to see this one by one. So that's really cool. It already created an animated chart. Let's go back to data. What else is here? Series, connect with line. That means, let's imagine, if I type the country, I want to have some lines connecting those countries over time. So I'm going to type A. Let's see what this means. If I go back to preview, you see it's drawing these lines that show the path of each of these circles over time. Right, so that's something I could do. Or if you think that's messy, just delete it. So we don't need to do it. I can create a filter here. For example, imagine I want users to choose or to look at this by region. So I'm going to type D. And again, you choose which column from your data you want to visualize and with which kind of property. Filter, let's go back to the preview. And here you see I have a new filter where I can choose only one particular region of the world. What else can I do? All right. This is still a bit messy, a lot of data. Imagine, for example, that I want to go back and put those lines back. So it's a very complex graphic. I can use this thing called grid of charts to also disaggregate or break down this information. Instead of just one big chart with all the information, imagine I want to make several charts, one for each of the regions. So what I want to do is to say grid of charts based on column D, based on regions. And see what happened now. It created individual charts for each of those regions. What I can do now is also look at something a bit peculiar about this is this scale. That's a logarithmic scale, something we mentioned before. It's not even increments. That's a little bit confusing. So what I want to do, now that I'm in the preview, once I have finished assigning columns to different functions, I'm going to go back to preview. And here on the right side, I have all these parameters that I have to refine this visualization. For example, I'm going to go to x-axis, and I'm going to say, okay, this, let's see, this scale is linear rather than logarithmic. And now let's say, what else can I do? For example, in the grid of charts, I want to say the minimum chart width rather than 150 pixels, let's say 300. And you see how these charts are now reflowing nicely. Okay, something that Flourish is very nice with is responsive design, as I mentioned. For example, this is what you will see if you are on a desktop computer. But if you click here, if someone is using a tablet, the chart is going to reorganize itself automatically. You don't have to do anything. It's going to recognize the size of that device and do a different layout. So instead of rows of 3 charts, these are going to be rows of 2, so that they don't become so small, the type, etc. If you're on a smartphone, this is what you are going to see. So it's nice because it's going to adapt automatically to that to those devices. So let's say, okay, let's imagine that this is my chart. What I want to do now is export and publish. So export and publish, publish to share and embed, publish this visualization. And now if I go to, do you see this other tab in my browser? It's just basically, it's already live on the web. So it's showing me that visualization on the web. All right, so, or then you could take this code and copy that if you want to put it on your website, or you can download an image. If you go to download image, you will see different options. One of them is SVG. SVG is something that you can open in Illustrator. Sometimes it's hit and miss in Flourish, meaning some of the simplest charts translate very well in those SVGs. Some others are hard to import or become a bit messy. So you have to be careful with that. But in many cases, you can import this with no problem into Adobe Illustrator. Of course, when you do that, they will not be interactive anymore. Let me show you another example so that we keep understanding that logic of Flourish. I'm going to do a new visualization. And this time, what I want to do is one of those cool chord diagrams that you may have seen before. Let me choose, for example, this template. Look at this. This is a cool interactive visualization, a nice way of showing data. In this case, what we are looking at in the template, these are the different characters of the TV series Friends. So we have Joey, Phoebe, Chandler, Monica, Ross, and Rachel. And each of the lines in this flow is the amounts of words spoken. I think this is in a given episode. So for example, Chandler spoke to Joey 374 words in this episode, Joey to Chandler 403. Right, so you see all those interesting connections. And then you can see, if you look at the data, it's also very, very simple. So I go again, I have the preview, I have the data. This is what the template looks like. And that's it's very useful in Flourish because once you look at the template in the data tab, you know how you have to prepare your data to make a graphic that will look like that. Right. So for example, you want to know how to organize your Excel file so that you can create this. You just open data, look at the template and say, okay, I just need 3 columns, from, to, and count. So what if I wanted to show my data, for example, in this case, I wanted to show a core diagram like this, but with trade between different continents. So now that I'm on the template, I'm going to upload my data file. My data file is this one. When I give you these files, they will all be numbered so that you can do these exercises. Okay, so import data publicly, 31 rows, select the columns. All right, see now, instead of those characters from Friends, I have continents, from, to, and the amount of trade. I think this is in billions of dollars. All right, so let's visualize. From, that's fine, that's correct. So I want to keep A, 2, that's also fine, B, and value. So these are already nicely organized. Just hit, look at the mini preview down there. And if I go to my, so basically I just imported it. I didn't have to do anything else. Europe, Oceania, Middle East, America. That's the amount of trade. We see a little problem here. If you look at this tooltip, the label, it still says amount of words spoken. That's wrong. That's not what it is. So let's change that. So in my preview area, remember on the right side, you define all the different parameters for this visualization. So pop-up, this is pop-up description. This should be trade in US billions in 2019, for example. Okay, there it is. So you see it's as simple as that. And then I can play a little bit with colors, etc. For example, I can come to these chords and I can change my opacity. Or what else? Gap between, let's see what happens. Okay, so pretty simple, and again, always based on that template, and then you replace the data from that template with your own. It's good to look at these templates so that you know how your data needs to be organized. Let's see. Okay, let's say I want to take this into Adobe Illustrator, for example, again. So let's export and publish and can do download an image, SVG. Okay, and then that SVG, download. Let's see if this opens in Illustrator. I'm going to drag that into Adobe Illustrator. Okay, so there it is. That's now a graphic in Illustrator. The labels are there. You can move them to a layer on in front of it. So very easy translation from Flourish into Illustrator. Okay, let me go back to my browser. Safari. Okay. Let's do one more. I'm going to do one of those bubble maps, a map with circles on it. Let's try that in Flourish. So I'm going to say new visualization. I'm going to plot cases of coronavirus in different parts of the US. So I'm going to look at the different map templates I have here. And I'm going to choose a simple one, a simple US map. By the way, something about Flourish that is very nice. Let me open a world map, actually. This is a template for a world map with areas and circles. Something that is great in Flourish is this area called projection. That's where you can change the projection, something that you cannot do with Tableau, for example. Imagine I have Eckert Ford, let's say I want Winkle Triple. You see how the shape of the map changes. And the data associated with the map is going to stay in the same locations, no matter what the projection is. So you can choose whatever projection you want. For example, an orthographic projection, that's what we use for a globe. Let's see if I can make this smaller. So that will be for a globe. And then I can, if I click on advanced, I can change the rotation or the center of this globe. So it's really great for projections. Let me go back to, let's see. To the templates, what I want to do now is a map of the US showing circles with coronavirus cases. So I'm going to open a simple US template. All right. Here you see a map of the US, and you can see two different types of information in this template. You can see the fill of the states, and you can see the circles. So you can do either one of those two types of maps. And if you look at this in the data tab, you see that I have two large tabs, regions and points. Regions is where I will import data to create an area map, a choropleth map. Points is where I will import any kind of data to create a circle map, a bubble map. If you are doing a area map like this, there is a column here that is called geometry. That is what Flourish is going to use to draw those different regions. So that column needs to stay there. You have to have that information in your Excel file, or if you don't have it, instead of replacing this file, you're going to do a merge. You're going to merge your data file with this one so that we retain that essential column called geometry that Flourish uses to draw the shapes. Okay. In this case, we are not interested in any of this because we are not doing a region map. We are doing a point map. Okay. So let's see. What I want to do first is to eliminate everything in that area map that is in the template. So all this information I don't need. On select columns to visualize, you see that there are also two areas, one for regions for an area map, the other one for points. That's the one I want to use now. It's a bit confusing, but we need to be on the top left on the points tab, and here on the right on the points as well. So on the regions area, I'm going to delete everything. We don't need any of that information. And you can see in the preview how it's just showing me that empty map. Let's see. Okay, the only thing I want to delete is the value. So I don't want to colorize this area map. I just want it to be a base for my circles. And now in the point area, I'm going to upload my data file with coronavirus cases. So I'm going to look for that file, import it. There are 2,500 rows of information there. Okay, so this is the file I imported. And you can see that whenever you want to do a map with circles, you need to have these two columns. You need your Excel file to contain a latitude column and a longitude column. Or in many cases, the names of locations can be identified by Tableau or Data Wrapper or Flourish to know what are the coordinates of those areas, because it needs coordinates to plot on a specific point. It's not the same as an area like a state or a county or a country. It needs a very precise location defined by coordinates. So sometimes you can import a file that rather than latitude and longitude says New York City, Washington DC, names of cities, and it will also find within its server the latitude and longitude to locate that point. In this case, we have actual latitude and longitude, so that's what is going to use to locate the points. We have a number of cases of coronavirus, we have deaths, and we have the name of those counties. All right, so select columns to visualize. Let's see, the name, the name is F, that's the name of the counties. The latitude here is column A. So column A defines latitude. Longitude is B. And the value, what I want to plot for the size of the circle is column D. That's right. So column D. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Now I'm going to go back to preview. This is my map. The only thing I have to do now is to make this bigger. So for example, let's say I want to make this maximum radius 60. You see, and then I'm going to make them blue. Or maybe red, because this is bad, coronavirus. Let's see, and then I can play with opacity. I can make them completely filled, or I can make them semi-transparent. You can see that around New York, for example, there are many circles. So the more transparency, the better. Or in fact, maybe rather than a fill, this should be lines. So I'm going to go to stroke opacity. So this area on the right, again, is where you define the different parameters for the visualization, or you refine the visualization. So let's make this thinner. Something like that. So that will be a nice little map showing the cases of coronavirus in the US. Look at this, for example, you see that we have this column with all the counties, and we have county name and state. It will actually be very nice if I had the state name as a separate column so that I can use that column to colorize the different circles. So imagine we have all the bubbles for each state in a different color. Let's see if I can find that Excel file. Okay, and you see this column that contains county, name, and state. I want to separate those into two different columns so that I can use a state to colorize the map. So I'm just going to go here to data, text to columns, and it's delimited by characters such as commas. Yes, okay, let's see, next. Comma is the divider there. All right, so I separated the states. I'm going to name this coronavirus by states. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to share my browser. Now, I don't want to use this data set anymore. I want to use the new one with states in a separate column. Now, if I import data, is it going to break everything and I had to start from scratch? No, what I can do is I can import that file and it's going to, because almost everything else is identical, it's going to preserve everything we have and just add what is new in that second file. So let's take a look. I'm going to upload the one I just created. See, so I have my new column here with the states. Everything is still the same. It didn't break anything, even though it's now based on a different Excel file, but it's preserving everything we did. And then I'm just going to say, okay, and the color is G. So let's look at the preview. And you see now it's colorizing each state in a different color. Of course, this doesn't make a lot of sense because it's 50. It's a color key with 50 different names. It will make sense if I had a division by region, like East Coast, Midwest, West, etc., so that I have only 4 or 5 different colors. But anyway, the point is you can re-import a file after making a change, and it's going to preserve everything else that you did to the file. All right, so that's also a bit of, sorry for going so fast. Let me know if you have any questions on Flourish.